So today I want to answer a question I've been getting a lot, and that is it possible to take two smaller condo units and merge them into one bigger one? A lot of people are looking at maybe needing a little bit more space and they're living in small units and they're wondering, is it possible to merge two condo units? It's a tricky question, one I'm going to try to unpack on today's episode. My name is John Pasalis. My team and I help buyers and sellers throughout the Toronto area make smarter real estate decisions. Of course, as always, if you'd like to meet with me, my team, just click the link in the show notes below or shoot me an email at askjohn@movesmartly.com. So before I try to unpack this question about whether or not we can merge two units, it's important to understand why the heck Toronto is so obsessed and dominated by this micro condo boom. It is a Toronto phenomenon. It does not happen everywhere else in the world. And to understand that, I'm going to actually show a clip of a recent interview we had with a developer who unpacked why this happens in Canada, what makes condominiums or the way we sell condominiums unique in Canada relative to everywhere else in the world. So we're going to show that clip right now.
Let's talk about why condos are fundamentally, the whole condo um, structure is fundamentally broken. Um, and it starts, before using the word financing, let's just talk about how condos as a product are created and sold and used. Um, so when you buy anything, particularly anything that, has some significant dollars attached to it, but even insignificant numbers like a pair of shoes, you buy a pair of shoes, you go and see your shoe. First of all, you know that I now need a shoe. That's actually one more important thing. I need a shoe right now. My shoe's wearing out. I need a shoe. So you go and you can do research. You can look up all sorts of reviews on the shoe. You can look up prices. Then you go and grab that shoe and you touch it, you feel it, you kind of feel the quality, if the reviews were right or not based on your perception. You try them on, you walk a little bit, and then you decide to spend 100, $200 or not. That's the same, that's the same kind of value validation process that we go through when we buy anything, shoes, glasses, laptops, cars. As you go up as you go up the scale, even more important that you try that car, for example, spend $50,000 on, for example. But then there comes condos, and condos only in Canada, not anywhere else in the world for the most part. Only in Canada, condos are not bought and sold like any other product that people buy and sell.
So as he pointed out, again, the way we buy condos is very different. It's not like any other product where you walk in and you take a look at it. And one of the reasons why we build condos the way we do and have so many small condos, and I kind of cut off this clip a little bit short, has to do with the way they are financed in Canada. In every other country, or most other countries, builders build the housing the same way a car company builds cars and then sells them. Builders build homes and then sell them to end users. The builder needs to think about what type of product the market needs 2, 3, 4 years down the road. They build that and then sell them once completed. In Canada, builders needs to pre-sell units before they can get financing. And that's the big difference between Canada and other parts of the world. And because they need to pre-sell them, most of our condos are bought by investors. And most investors want small units, so we build small units. So this is largely why the condo market in Toronto has been dominated by both investors and by small units because, as he mentioned, the average family is not making decisions 4 or 5 years down the road. I think one of the key nuances he highlights, and I think a lot of housing advocates and economists who are very pro-investor kind of make it sound like this is the only way to build condos. And I thought what was really thought-provoking about this discussion is that he's arguing that this is not. This is a uniquely Canadian problem, and it's leading to, quite frankly, crappy outcomes. What I think is probably an oversupply of micro condos, and we've shut families out of the city. So, his argument is Canada should be financing condos differently, allowing the builder and the banks to take on the risks so they can build housing that they believe the market needs 3, 4, 5 years down the road, rather than needing to pre-sell them to mom and pop investors. So I'm going to include the link to that video in the show notes below. It was super interesting. Take a look. I encourage you. Now, going back to our original question, can you merge two small units and make one large unit? For the most part, I mean, it's a challenging thing to do. I'm going to highlight the two big problems what that make it challenging to do, and then I'm going to talk about some of the scenarios where it might be possible and may actually work. So there are two big reasons why it's hard to do that. Number one has to do with mechanics and the building envelope and the building structure. All condo buildings, behind those walls between your unit and your neighbor's unit, a lot of times there are shared amenities, and the shared amenities could be electrical, plumbing, high-speed internet, cable, all of those types of things that run up the entire building. So you can't just remove walls to build this open concept layout. And in some cases, there are structural walls between them and pillars and columns. So it's not necessarily easy or practical to merge two units. In some cases, it is. In some cases, it's possible depending on the building. In some cases, it maybe was originally a large unit and the builder just decided to separate and sell two small ones instead. So it may be more possible. But in most cases, it's a challenge to do that. And you would probably need to do a lot of due diligence before you even consider buying two small units. The other reason why it's typically not practical is because, think about it this way. If we have two small 600 square foot unit or one large 1200 square foot unit, on a price per square foot basis, which is the way most people think about condos and how to value them, the large unit typically sells for less per square foot than the small units. And they sell less per square foot, both as new housing and in resale housing. And of course, a lot of that has to do with it's just more expensive to build two small units than it is to build one larger unit. You need two kitchens. You often need more bathrooms. If you're building brand new, the fees and taxes and charges on them are different and higher. So it's typically more expensive. So if we kind of think about what's involved in merging two units, you're actually paying more to buy two 600 square foot units than you would be paying to buy an existing 1200 square foot unit. And that's just the purchase price. And you haven't even done a penny of renovations yet. So this is the main reason why it's typically not practical to merge two units. It's really the cost. You're paying a lot more money for two small units than you would if you just bought an existing large unit. Now, the cost structure could, of course, change over time. As I said, over the, forever, large units sold for less per square foot than small units. If Toronto ends up with this massive oversupply of tiny units that nobody really wants or needs, is it possible that those drop in value a little bit more aggressively than large units? Could we see a world where large units sell for more per square foot than small units? Possible. Again, we haven't seen that happen yet, but it's very possible. Again, I think if we have a market that has been oversupplied by small units, we may see that trend down the road, but we're not there yet. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. So it's not a realistic option for most people. Now, I'm going to end by kind of talking about scenarios where it might be possible and scenarios where I have seen it. So generally, some of the older, I'd say loft conversions are a good example of where you see them, where these were just basically big, massive open concept spaces to begin with. There aren't a lot of interior walls. They're just wide open spaces. And in those buildings, I have seen scenarios where people just buy two units and merge them. But one, I think, important thing that makes those properties unique oftentimes is that people are buying what are generally larger units to begin with. Those properties don't tend to have a bunch of 500 square foot units that you're merging. You're taking 1,000 square foot unit and a 900 square foot unit to build a 1,900 square foot unit. So again, the cost difference in terms of a price per square foot is not that material. And people, again, are doing them for personal reasons. So there are cases where it might be possible. Again, merging two slightly larger units into one really big one is one example. But again, it really will also depend on the structure and the mechanics of the building and understanding which walls can come down and if you can even merge those units. So It is tricky. Is it a trend that we're going to see people doing in the future? Again, I think for us to see that, we're going to have to see the price of small condos decrease at a faster rate than large condos. And time will tell if that actually happens. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions about that, please post them in the comments below or shoot me an email at askjohn@movesmartly.com.